Okay, g'day, Noxie here. Attempt number 3 at recording a reasonable endurance lap Porsche 963 GTP at Daytona for my team and anybody else who's interested. This lap time is a 133.9. Important things to note: the car's pretty heavy with fuel at the moment. We're about halfway through a stint, or a third of the way through a stint. So the car's heavy, but the tyres haven't gone off yet. Using the Hymo eSports setup, which is nice. I've made some adjustments to the braking, so as I go through the braking, you'll see that I'm not hitting 100%. The reason for that is because I don't love the Hymo braking setups. The setups are great, but I always adjust the brakes just to make them a little bit more responsive. Okay, so coming down the main turn, what's this called? The tri-oval. Once we get to about the start-finish line, we start to drift up the track a bit, so get up nice and high. Your braking point here is this final dotted line, and it's a bit of a funny braking event. So we're going to take the eSports line. So basically you see down here there's a set of cones. You want to aim a bit off to the left, and if we have a look at the braking, so if we have a look here, peak brake is around about 90% here, and then we're lifting off because we've got a little bit of lock on and the aero's coming off, so we're lifting off the brake as we go. Okay, so like I say, aiming just to the left of the cone, letting it go quite wide, like very wide, and then trail braking from there to get the car back in. You come off the brakes when you can see the white line on the left hand side from the cockpit. So let's have a quick look at that. So you can see I'm still trail braking, still trail braking, still trail braking, and now I can see the line briefly, and then we'll be on the throttle or roll through, and then on the throttle. And then so we're using the throttle then to balance the car through this turn. This car likes to get quite sideways through here, so it's important to be very patient with the throttle. Discretion is the better part of valor. You can see the car's still turning, and my wheel is straight, so I'm using the throttle to turn it. Note of caution coming through here. This section is a really easy bit to spin one of these cars. If you get a little sideways on the way out of this corner, it likes to have a bit of a tank slapper, and if you need to not hit these curbs, or you can just touch them, but you can see actually that unsettled the car. You can touch the curbs, but you can't really smack them. It really unsettles the car. So accelerating up into 5th gear, coming back across to the left hand side of the track as quickly as we can, and your braking point here, I've actually braked a little early there because I got out of that corner quite well, is the final dotted line here as well. So we're on our braking event there, up to only about 60-70% here because we don't have quite as much downforce. Trying to brake in a really nice straight line, get out nice and wide, and then your turn in point is about hang on, let me show you quickly, is about here, like where that cone is about your turn in point. And we trail brake in, trail brake in, trail brake in, 1st gear for this corner in this car. The trail braking, and then once this car's a little bit different than other cars, you've got a bit more downforce. You don't need to trail brake too far, and in fact, I use the throttle from here to balance the car out. So you can see throttle's coming up as I'm getting towards the end of this curb, rather than right in the centre, so I like to apex quite late here to get a nice straight exit, V off the corner I think they call it, and then you can see the car likes to slide coming in here, so you can see I'm actually steering the car with my throttle here, I'm not steering the car with the steering wheel. And the other thing is that the change into second is quite often another kind of moment where you get a little bit sideways. So it's up into third, flat out down here, diagonal as far as we can go, and the next corner is flat, so you're staying flat. Your turn in point is where the white line changes direction here a little bit, So staying flat, turning it in and keeping it as far to the left as we can through this corner, but it's important to not fight the car here. If you happen to end up out here somewhere, that's fine. Just make sure you get on the brakes. Braking point is, for me, I'm looking at these two lines up here on the track, but a good place, because if you go off at one of these horseshoes, you're basically in the wall. There's kind of no bringing it back. There's no exit space. If you get your braking wrong here, you're going to hit the wall. So it's better to be a little bit conservative and probably brake at this little tarmacy bit here. So you can see, in fact, I'm starting the braking there as well. Coming across to the left as much as possible. There's not, for some reason, a huge amount of grip here, so you can't really have a big braking event. Like I'll hit the top of the brake range at about 70% there, and then down to about 60, and then there's a lot of turning and a lot of trail braking through here. So you're trying to stay pretty wide, but you're still trying to trail brake, and you're aiming to apex over kind of halfway through this curb. It's not an early apex by any stretch of the imagination. Down into first gear. And then on the throttle pretty early, and again balancing, so you can see if you look at my wheel and throttle. So throttle comes on, and I'm using the throttle to turn the car from that point. So in fact, if anything, having to correct a little bit. And you want to get on the throttle pretty early down here, but again, I always say that, don't I? It's not like a GT3. You can't just mash the throttle pedal. You've got to really feed it in gently. You've got to wait for the car to settle. Up into second gear, by the way, it's a short shift. So we're short shifting. We're shifting into second before we even get to the end of the curb. You can see here, short shift. So the car is sliding, still sliding in second, and then there's a crown over the road here where the car also likes to slide just for the fun of it, and there it goes. So there's often a bit of a correction out of there. So, and you can see if you look at the throttle pedal all the way through there, I'm not at 100% at any point here. I'm balancing it the whole way. So we don't get to 100% till the car has finally settled. All right, coming up to, I don't know, turn 6, I think this is called. Bunch of different ways you can do this one. I like to be conservative here. Some people put their wheels out here and try to use some concrete. I'm less of a fan of that. I'm using this as my visual braking reference point. I don't think I've got this corner right yet, but I've never been particularly good at this one. However, big brake event up to 80% and then trailing off again, trailing off, trailing. Very, very, very easy to spin the car here on entry. I'm using first. I don't know if it's first or second gear corner, to be honest with you, but I'm aiming to get my left-hand wheels on that curb, try and use it to get the car to rotate a bit. And again, you're balancing the throttle all the way out here. So one of the reasons I'm using first through here is it seems to get a little bit less loss of traction on the way out. But still, at no point am I, like, I'm certainly not mashing the throttle, that's for sure. Letting it run fairly wide so that I can kind of straighten this area up and take a nice wide line. That allows me to get on the throttle a little bit quicker. It's slower through the corner, but it's faster down the next straight. And so by the time we get into third, we can be on throttle 100%. So coming down through here, standard kind of NASCAR line, get down to the yellow line mid-corner. I'm actually a little high here. Get down to the yellow line mid-corner and then just let it nice and kind of roll up. On the exit, taking you wide out to the line. There we go, to the wall. All right, braking point for whatever this is called now, the bus stop chicane, I think it is now. There's a light, like a green, yellow light, red light, like a flag light, I guess that would be called. That is the braking point. So we're flat out, we're doing 320 k's an hour, and we brake about there. So obviously this is super important, this part of the track. Down into fourth gear and turning in just after the 1, and we're aiming to have our left-hand wheels hit this curb but not go over it. And in fourth gear, still trail braking, still with a little bit of braking on. So yep, still trail braking, and you can see that I have not put my left hand wheels over that. It's very easy to have a very big crash if you do that. Trying to get the car fairly left. So a little bounce to get it to go a little bit left, and then there's another touch of the brakes and back to third to get it to change direction nicely for me. And then it's basically the same as the old bus stop, but you've got to be much more careful. So again, bouncing this curb. Let's go rear chase again. Bouncing this curb, but not going all the way over. You can get to that point there, but you've just got to be a little bit careful on the exit then, that you haven't got too much throttle on, because it'll slide. So coming out of there, and then a little brake again just to get the car pointed, and then we're on throttle. And we're using, but unlike the old bus stop, you used to just mash the throttle here. You can't do that anymore. You've got to balance the throttle over these curbs, and you're aiming to just miss that one and then just miss this one over here. If you happen to hit the top of these curves with your wheels, then you're in the air. But you can see balancing it, third gear, and then once we land, trying to get full throttle. You can full throttle there, and let's have a look at how close it was on the rear chase. Yeah, so that you don't want to go any further than that. Go any further than that, and you're going to be bouncing up and into the wall. So that is the key to this lap, really. It's getting through there, letting it run wherever it wants to go on the exit there, and then coming through the final turn, bank turn, get down low to the line, saves you a few meters, flat out obviously, just letting it wander around. Now there's a lot of people, most people stay down on the yellow line here as they exit. I'm letting it drift up a little bit because I'm finding that if I'm trying to stay really low, it's scrubbing. I don't really want it to scrub. So, and obviously we're flat out, back down to the yellow line, and here we go for a 1:33.9. Remembering it's got plenty of fuel on it. The tyres are 10 laps old, 9 laps old. We've got an endurance setup on it. You know, it's not intended to be the fastest lap ever. It is intended to be a repeatable endurance racing lap that we can do for 24 hours. Thanks for watching. If you're doing Daytona this weekend, I wish you lots of luck. Hopefully you'll see us if you're in our race. Come and join us in chat, all that stuff. And to my team, good luck. Hopefully this helps. Okay, thanks so much. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching.